In today's video, we're diving into 5 fundamental key tips that every Pokemon collector needs to know for 2026. Now you might think, it's just collecting cards, how complicated can it be? But honestly, this hobby's changed so much over the last few years that a few simple mistakes can end up costing you hundreds if not thousands if you're not careful. So whether you're brand new to the Pokemon TCG or you've been collecting since the 90s, these are 5 golden rules that'll help you stay smart, avoid hype traps, and make the most of your collection this year. Tip number 1 is that the meta has changed. The way people collect Pokemon cards now isn't even the same as what it was 2 or 3 years ago. Back then, it was mostly about finding your favourite cards or completing a binder set. But now we're in a totally new era. Alternate cards, special illustration rares, regular illustration rares, and exclusive promos have redefined what collecting Pokemon cards is about. And that means that stuff that's hot today might be completely forgotten about in a year or two. Because think about it, trends move so quickly. And stuff that everyone's chasing right now might be in a clearance box in a couple of months. And to be honest, we've seen it countless times. Remember the Zacian and the Zamazenta cards from Sword and Shield base? Everyone was going wild for them, and then suddenly new stuff came out and it all just dropped off. Because once the new alternate cards arrived, they had this level of storytelling that these cards just didn't have, and the old gold cards were just kind of forgotten about. And the same thing could happen again in 2026. Right now, everyone's focused on the special illustration rares or the monochrome cards from Black Bolt, White Flare, or the gold cards from Mega Evolution, and are thinking about the special illustration rares from Phantasmal Flames. But how do we know that within a year we might get a new card type or visual style that completely takes over from what we've got now? So my advice is, don't get caught up in the hype wave. It's tempting, we know. That's because you see people online opening ridiculous amounts of packs and getting really good cards, and then the FOMO just kicks in, and you're like, I've got to go get it. Then overnight, the price just spikes. But you've just got to stay calm, because eventually prices do settle down. And if you're buying into the hype every single time, your wallet's just going to take a real hit. Instead, just stay flexible. And if you're going to chase something, make sure that you can pivot somewhere else when the time comes. Because the people who last in this hobby are the collectors that are able to adapt when they need to, not the ones that cling onto every single trend going. Now let's talk about something that used to define collecting, and that is collecting master sets. Because for years, there still is, the ultimate goal of lots of collectors is to collect every single card in the set. From commons to rares, to special illustration rares, and beyond. That's what you want when you want a master set. And it's kind of like finishing a Pokédex in the game. You want every single one. But here's the reality in 2026. Master sets aren't what they used to be. And that's because they've become ridiculously expensive and in some cases almost impossible to collect. Because back in the day, sets were just smaller. They were a lot easier. There was 90, 100, maybe 200 cards if it was a big set. And finishing a binder was generally realistic. But modern sets, they're kind of big. If we're talking about collecting every common, every reverse, sometimes they've got the Pokeballs and the Master Ball of every single one of those cards. Most notably, Black Bolt and White Flare. If you're trying to go after every single one, if you want the illustration rares, the special illustration rares, the monochromes, that is going to be near to 800 cards in that set, which to be honest is absolutely ridiculous because the rarities of some of those is just silly. So if you're trying to collect every single card and you can't, just don't beat yourself up about it. It's not something that you've done wrong, just the market has evolved. And instead of trying to complete every single set, which just isn't realistic, be more selective in your collecting. Pick a few cards or a theme that mean a lot to you. Something that you would personally enjoy collecting. Maybe a Pokemon, or a specific generation, or an illustrator that you really enjoy. It's also fun, but it makes sure that your collection is personal to you and it keeps the hobby entertaining. Because Pokemon has always been about collecting, right? Because think about it, gotta catch them all has always been the slogan. But catching them all today is very different than it was 20 years ago. But that's okay though, because it's all about adapting your goals to make sure that collecting is fun, not stressful, and not a burn on your wallet. Now let's move on to the third fundamental tip. And this one's quite a big one, is that card grading matters more than ever. It used to be something that only serious investors did or hardcore collectors, but now it's something that everyone does. By the time we get to 2026, it's going to be even bigger. And people have realized that it isn't just about the plastic case. It's about protection, legitimacy and authenticity. And the value. Because Pokemon cards are really fragile. You've got to be really careful with them. There's even a small scratch or a small nick can just drop that value like that. And if you send any cards to PSA, CGC, BGS, Ace, Tag, it's not just about being able to flash your cards, it's about having the legitimacy and the protection of the cards for years to come. But here's the interesting thing, the value of a card when it's raw, the value of a card when it's PSA 10 or graded 10 has never been bigger. Because a few years ago, a graded 10 might have been 30 or 40% bigger than the value of the card when it's raw. Now though, it can be almost double, 3 times, 5x the amount that it is when it's raw. And this is because the quality of English cards especially is so poor. It can be really hard to get a 10. However, Japanese cards, if you're wanting something in a perfect 10, you've got an 80% chance roughly, because the print quality is way better. So if you're wanting things in a 10, go for the Japanese cards. Probably a little bit cheaper as well. But English cards, not so much. Even if a card is coming fresh out of the pack, a lot of the time it's still coming back at 9. So getting that perfect 10 is so sought after. And collectors are willing to pay a premium for it. And that's why grading has become an essential part of the hobby. And it's not just about protecting your cards, it's about understanding why certain grades matter, why you've got that card, and how it affects the value. A graded 9 might look perfect to the naked eye, but it might have that tiny little bit of scratch, tiny little cut, tiny microscopic bit of whitening that you just haven't seen. And that's the thing that makes all the difference to a buyer. But if you're thinking about holding the cards long term, think about grading the ones that truly matter. Your rarest pulls, your special promos, or anything that you think might have historical value down the line. Because in a few years, those cards might be the difference between getting a binder full of new, flashy, shiny cards or having a significant investment in the future. Now, the fourth tip ties directly into how you buy and sell cards. This is timing. Timing is crucial in the hobby, as it is in most things, and it's something that everyone still gets wrong, because the Pokemon card market moves in cycles. Some cards explode in popularity when the new set comes out, but after a couple of months, sometimes you get a steady decline and they find where they're going to be priced at. Whereas others might get overlooked early on, and then the price slowly climbs over time. For example, the Iron Crown Special Illustration Rare from Temporal Forces. When that card came out, it was everywhere. Everyone wanted it, and now no one's really bothered. But the funny part is, sometimes cards make a comeback. When Pokemon 151 dropped in Japan, it was absolutely insane. Everyone was after it. And then we got one of the biggest reprints in Pokemon history. And you were able to get it for way cheaper prices than what everyone was buying for it initially. But then all of those packs that were released in the reprint have started to be opened. And now there's less of it again, and it's starting to rise back in price because it's still a popular set. So the takeaway is that the market breathes. It expands, it contracts, you've just got to learn to live with it. And if you buy something and the price drops, that doesn't automatically mean that you've made a mistake. If you hold on to it for a little while, price might eventually come back up. And it's all part of the learning curve. Every collector has made these mistakes before. And that's normal. The key thing to remember is that Pokemon isn't short-term, it's a long-term hobby. Short-term dips don't mean long-term losses. Eventually the price might come up. You've just got to collect what you love and it'll be good for you. So if you miss out on a release, don't panic. Wait for restocks, wait for the hype to die down. If you really love the card, it's still going to be there. And often for a much more reasonable price than what it was when it first came out. And now probably the most important tip of all, collect what you love. Seriously, this is the foundation of everything. Forget market trends, forget prices. Collecting should always be about your joy, just you. But here's the truth, because of the emotional connection you will have to that card, that's what matters the most. Not the hype trends, not the FOMO, not what everyone's talking about. If it's what you want, that's what matters. It doesn't matter whether the market is hyped or it spikes or it drops. As long as it's what you want, that's fine. Because if you buy something just because it's popular, you'll eventually lose interest. What's the point of that? But if it's something that you're genuinely happy owning, whether it's a certain Pokemon, set, illustrator, that's what's going to make you happy, and that's what's important. And if you do that, you'll never regret owning it. Because for example, if you love Flamigo and you want to collect every single Flamigo card, just do it. Because why not? Flamigo might not be everyone's perfect Pokemon, but if it's yours, who can tell you no? Why shouldn't you collect that card? Because that's the fun and it's your personal journey. And if you collect with love and passion, value often follows behind. As the Pokemon TCG, time and time again, has proven that cards with sentimental value tend to rise in value over time. It's not guaranteed, of course, but it's a nice bonus when something does, and it ends up being worth more down the road. So, build your collection around what matters to you, whether that's an art style, a Pokemon, or something that's story specific. Just make it personal. Because at the end of the day, the hobby isn't about making sure that everyone else is happy, it's making sure that you're happy with what you're collecting. So to wrap it all up, Pokemon collecting in 2026 will probably be bigger, faster, and more competitive than it's ever been before. But that means it can also be more rewarding. And we've reached a point where the art, creativity, and quality is better than it's ever been before. And as the hobby evolves, shows us the way we collect. So you need to remember these 5 essential key tips. Number 1, things change fast, and the meta is always shifting. Number 2, master sets aren't what they used to be, and that's okay. Number 3, grading matters more than ever, about protection and value. Number 4, timing your buys and sells can make all the difference. And number 5, most importantly, collect what you love. Because at the end of the day, collecting Pokemon should bring you happiness, not stress. Because whether your binder is full of art rares, alternate art, or commons, it should bring you back to your childhood and it should make you happy. Because that's what makes it special. So if you enjoyed this video and you're passionate about collecting Pokemon smartly, especially on a budget, make sure you check out my next video right here on the screen. I'll be breaking down how to collect Pokemon without burning through your money and how to make sure it's still fun. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.